For this semester in college at the bookstore, my books would have cost me $576.25. This is crazy. Why would anyone pay that much for a book when we already have to pay for tuition, a deposit for our dorm rooms, and everything else? And if you don't get a scholarship, it can be really expensive when it comes to paying for college. Also, every year you buy books, it adds up, and that's a lot of money going into books. And then at the end of college, you are more likely going to have some student loans, and then it takes forever to pay those back because the money you saved up is gone because of the book expense. This is why I think college textbooks should be cheaper. The prices of textbooks are way too high. Margaret, a freshman nursing student, said she rented over $350 worth of books her last semester. And after her semester, then she was selling her books to get some money back, and she ended up only getting $7 back. This is why we need to stay clear from the bookstore, because it is for sure more expensive. Yes, it's convenient, but it isn't the cheapest place. Another way is you could share. Sometimes other people are willing to share their textbooks. You could split the cost. The hardest part with this option would be that you will have to make time where you both of you guys can get together and use it. For example, our Art of Public Speaking book from the bookstore, it costs $192 new, $144 used, and on check it's $14.99, and Amazon it's $12.75. Just to rent this book, and this is why we should look at different ways to rent textbooks. The reason why they are so expensive is because there are newer editions with newer information. Some of the newer editions aren't worth buying because it's just the same thing, it's just a newer look and different page numbers. Carla Riva, a reporter that covers higher education for Los Angeles Times, says that textbook prices are rising about 82%, when tuition and other fees are increasing about 89%. More students are more likely to turn to used books or to digital copies. But as professors would like the best information for students, which is untestable, but it's also more expensive when you get the newer editions. Publishers are use more expensive labor processes when it comes to making newer editions, which also makes the price bump up higher, since they are having to work harder on the book. StudentPeer.org said that some of the faculty members in Oregon and California say that they don't get the newer editions of textbooks because some of the information isn't as useful as it should be, and it's not worth reading. For example, a calculus book for a new one costs $130, while you can get the same book used in the previous edition can cost anywhere from $20 to $90. Jordan Wiseman, an editor of The Atlantic, says that people are paying more for textbooks in college than medical services, new home prices. College textbooks are about 237% more expensive than all of the other stuff you will end up buying later on in life, like a new house or home insurance or medical insurance. We also need to think about if we're really going to use this book. Most professors would like to think that we use the book, but in all reality, we don't read the chapter that they tell us to, and if we do, we just skim through it. There are different ways you can get cheaper textbooks. One way is to look at different websites like Amazon. Their prices aren't always the best and the cheapest, but then you can sell it back on Amazon. Another website to look on is Chegg and to rent your books. This is the most popular website for textbooks. Chegg also promises that you can get up to 90% of your discounts. At the end of your semester, you can give the textbook back so you don't have to worry about selling them yourself. Another way you can save money is to buy somebody else's book. Most likely their prices are going to be cheaper than the original prices. Another way you can get ebooks. You can rent and buy these books for way cheaper. This way might be a little bit more difficult because if you need your book in class and you're flipping back and forth from pages, it can be difficult if you don't have the actual book to flip back pages. In conclusions, textbooks should be much cheaper. You should try to stay away from the bookstore because their prices are more expensive and go towards buying used or rented books. Look for ebooks if they have it for that book and consider buying older editions, even if you might miss some of the information that might be in the newer editions. I personally would choose not to use the bookstore and go towards Chegg to rent my books because they pay for postage when I give my books back at the end of the semester. And I ended up only paying $132.17 for books on check.